Hey, everybody. We are live and we're going to give this another shot. We actually tried to do this exact live stream. I don't know, Nick, what was it? A couple of weeks ago, right after the new year, right?
Yep, about a week ago or
Hey,
week and a half.
everybody.
Yeah. Why is it?
We are, because you didn't mute it the way I told you to.
I did, and it unmuted just now. I literally pressed mute.
So yeah, we tried to do this a couple weeks ago, right after the new year. We were really excited about it. We had a whole bunch of people that were excited about it, and then it literally just blew up before we could even go live. So if you're tuning in now, we really appreciate you being here and taking a minute to just kind of watch what we've got to say here. We're going to do the same presentation that we didn't get to do last time. I know the description says some other things. We're going to actually talk a little bit about what author email is as well. But we want to make sure that you get this content because this is pretty big stuff. And Nick knows this stuff. He's been working on this kind of thing for a while. And this is something I'm really kind of excited to present. So excited I hear myself twice, Nick.
I don't know why it keeps doing that. I'm trying to figure out how to have different tabs open, but it's not working.
We can just close it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay. So Nick, man, why don't you let's start. We need to probably introduce ourselves just in case people tuning in don't know who we are. I'll let you go first. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, man?
Sure thing, man. Yeah. My name is Nick Thacker, and I am a full-time author. I write thrillers, a little bit of science fiction, mostly kind of your Indiana Jones meets National Treasure type stuff. I've been doing it for a while, and shortly after I got started doing it, I ran into this guy, Kevin, and shortly after that, we decided that we needed a way to send emails a little bit cheaper. And so we started a company that we're going to talk about a little bit toward the end of the presentation called Author Email. But for today, just know that I'm coming at you, talking to you as an author first and foremost. It's what I do, and it's how I make my living.
Cool. Yeah, me too. I'm Kevin Tomlinson. I am award-winning best-selling author myself, and yes, I'm one of the co-founders of Author Email, and we've been using this thing pretty consistently over the past like 4 years. It's worked fantastic for us, and we're stupid excited about rolling it out for other authors to use. So that is, and on top of things, let me just throw in the all the requisite titles and things. I am the host of the Wordslinger podcast, which you may have heard. I am also the director of marketing for Draft to Digital. So if you are out there looking for a way to publish your work and reach all these storefronts online, Draft to Digital is definitely the way to go. I highly recommend it, and I'm not even wearing my Draft to Digital hat right now. So that okay, we've taken care of that bit of housekeeping, man. So why don't you how do we want to approach the actual presentation here? Because what are we going to be focusing on in this?
Well, we are talking today about one of the things that I think is a pretty consistent theme in the writing world, the author world, which is how do we get more subscribers? How do we get more people interested in our work enough to share their best personal email address with you as an author? And we came up with the idea of a presentation called 20,000 Subscribers in 2020.
And that's because of all the 20s.
Because of all the 20s. It just had to be done. We've got a whole decade ahead of us of 20s that we can use, so it'll be great.
Yes.
Tune in 10 years from now for how to get 30,000 subscribers in 2020. But today we're just going to focus on something easy like 20,000. So we've got a presentation that we're going to burn through here, and we'll hopefully leave some time at the end for some questions. We did a little bit of that last time, but this time hopefully we'll have some people who can ask questions based on the actual content that we've prepared, which will be good for all of us.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kevin, without further ado, you want to jump into it?
Yeah, man. Let's go. We'll pop it up right now. Hey, look at work.
Look at that. Best practices.
I love when stuff works.
Man, stop saying that out loud, or things are quickly going to start failing. Yeah. So, like I said, this is about mailing lists. This is about building a mailing list as an author, and we put together some best practices. This isn't blowing smoke, though. This is not something that we're presenting you all with, and then turning around and saying, well, we think this is probably what works really well. we're trying it ourselves. This is stuff that's actually worked for Kevin. It's worked for me. I think I'm probably okay saying this, but between me and Kevin, we've got 120 something thousand newsletter subscribers. We're both right around the 60K number, I think each. Is that right, Kevin, for you?
Yeah, I think it was like 60, 65, I think was.
Yeah, we're kind of neck and neck.
Yeah. You're bigger than me, whatever it is.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, so this is stuff that we've actually done, guys. This is stuff that we have put into practice. So some of these things we put into practice a few years ago or years ago that still work. And so we're going to go through some of these best practices, some of these tips, strategies, things you all can use, hopefully immediately, to start generating a lot more subscribers very quickly. And again, it kind of is worth saying. We're all interested in good subscribers. You know, there's certainly we can go buy a mailing list somewhere, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about people who want to hear from you. They want your books.
Yeah. That is an important distinction.
Yes.
We do not advocate in any way going out and buying a mailing list. You want to talk about why? Because I think that's important because people are going to do that.
They're going to go buy
it. Seems like a shortcut. Yeah. And the biggest reason really is that you're getting a whole bunch of, if you do get any usable leads at all, they're typically not going to be very qualified leads, meaning that you are, if you're using a service that charges you by the number of subscribers you have, you're paying for a whole bunch of folks who may not ever generate any actual money for you. And also you have no way of knowing whether or not that list has been obtained legally or in a way that is appropriate. I switched over, Nick, so that
I don't know
on your screen. So
hold up. There we go.
There you go. Did you want to add to that?
The only thing I would add is that you're skirting some legal stuff by purchasing a list as well. There's people who put these lists together that are a little more unscrupulous. They have fewer scruples than the rest of us, and they don't care how those lists got there. And if they went and scraped them off of the internet somewhere, that is not a legal subscriber. That's not somebody you can legally send mail to, according to GDPR and the Millennium Act and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, we're not going to talk about that a whole lot. We're talking about ways of getting subscribers who are real. Meaning they're real people. They've signed up for your list. They want to hear from you. These are very warm to hot leads, meaning these are people you can easily sell books to. So let's jump into it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. And I just want to do a quick shout out to Kim and all the others who have joined the webinar. So I'm not seeing all the names yet, but I know there's like 9 people so far.
Yeah, Jackson Dean Chase jumped on there. He gets credit for coming in first, I think.
There you go.
Good job.
Let's roll.
Let's roll. All right. So as most good presentations begin, we decided some quotes would be probably useful for you guys. Mailing lists are really neat. We all know that, right? So that is just true all around.
You're a dork.
I know. Sorry, I had a little fun with this presentation. Kevin told me to do a slideshow, and I was like, ew, gross. I haven't done slideshows since college. No, I'm just kidding. Email, is it still the thing? Yes, it is. Next question. No, joking aside, I've heard this question. Kevin's heard this question.
I get this question all the time, actually.
Does email still work? Are we still building email lists? Are we really still giving freebies away on our website to try to get newsletter subscribers? Yeah, we all are, because it still works. It's a digital world now, and one of the best ways of getting someone's permission is to give them something for free and say, hey, I think you'll like what I've got, and I want you to trust me that I'm not going to abuse this privilege.
Yeah.
And what that translates to is email still is a very, 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 very viable way of building a readership online.
Yeah. By the way, I want you to know that people are asking questions.
Ooh.
Okay. So we will have some questions answered, and everybody, thank you for your questions. And I will definitely try to get to all of them, no matter how many there are, I hope. But let's wait do we have like a natural breaking point in the presentation where we can?
Yes, we've got some more fun quotes coming at you.
Awesome.
And some slides full of blank images.
Okay.
Where we can
my
stop
favorite
questions. So
all right.
Some of this stuff, again, may be repetitive for some of you who are authors.
This answers Roland Dell's question, by the way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So,
I keep interrupting you. I'm just going to pop his question up there.
Fine, man. You're good. What is the best way to start from zero? That's Roland's question. And strangely enough, that's our first slide here. Some of this stuff, again, is a little obvious, but you'd be surprised how hard some of these things can be when you're just getting started. But the rule number one for me is always to just start. And that means go jump in head first. Go pay money to MailChimp or whoever. Actually, they have a free plan, which I highly recommend. But go set up an account. Go see what it's all about. Go start your list. Even if you don't know who's going to subscribe first, go figure out what it means to embed a web form onto your website. My second rule is just make it as easy as possible. You know, since you're going to be drinking from the fire hose, don't plan to take over the world by tomorrow. Plan very simply with your mailing list to share what you've got coming up on your radar, right? So major updates to your life, new releases, and likewise, make it easy for your readership as well. Make it painless for them to sign up. And so, again, what all this means is it's just get started. If you don't have a mailing list, no one knows. It doesn't matter if you're embarrassed because you don't have any subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows. No one knows those numbers. So just get started. Sign up for some kind of service that allows you to do email marketing, and just try to start learning.
Yeah.
And then rule number 3. This is the one that always surprises me by how hard it is to do.
It's the simplest one, and no one does it.
No one does it.
Yeah.
This is just ask for help. There are so many authors out there who are both one step ahead of you and one step behind you. And if we could all just connect better and ask questions to those of us who are ahead of us. I mean, I did this. I just released a book, and it's a nonfiction book on author platforms. I'm writing from the perspective of where I am as an author, knowing full well that there are authors ahead of me. And so I just went and asked them, well, how do I get to the next level? What did you do? Likewise, go ask people, how did you set up your mailing list? If you find someone in your genre who's about where you are, but it seems that they have a pretty good mailing list, ask them.
Yeah.
Ask them why, right? Pretty straightforward. This is just kind of laying the groundwork here, building a list from scratch.
Yeah. I would throw in here under ask, especially when the whole starting from scratch thing. I mean, you have access to people already, and you can start small and build as you go. But I would definitely start with asking, friends and family to get on to sign up on the mailing list. Ask if you have an existing mailing list. You might want to just send something out to them to say, hey, I'm doing this new thing. Roland, in your case, maybe you ping your existing audience and ask, I've got this new thing I'm doing, a pen name in urban fantasy, and I'm looking for people to not only join the list, but to share it with as many people as possible that you think might enjoy these books. And you don't have to do that continuously on your existing list, because you don't want to fatigue that list. But asking once or twice over the course of a couple of months isn't going to hurt much, and you may start to see growth there. And then, of course, there are other ways to grow this as well. So we'll cover some of that
for sure. Yeah. And then Kevin was just kind of talking about some of this stuff. What I've done is kind of made a list here of what worked then, meaning prior to now. Some of the ways that Kevin and I and a lot of other authors have built their mailing lists are things like freebies. This is literally giving people a free book or a free sample. I, for example, give 3 full-length thrillers away on my mailing list, or if you sign up for my mailing list. Advertising, of course, we've all heard of that working really well. We'll talk about that a little bit later. List swaps is kind of what Kevin mentioned, getting people in your genre to share your new release or your update with their own list. And the exchange, of course, is you get to take some of their subscribers, and now you both have subscribers. Call to actions, CTAs. These are big, and a lot of people didn't really do them a whole lot. I think it's more common now, but I'm a huge fan of dropping in that CTA just about everywhere. Yeah. I've even played around with putting it in the middle of a book. It didn't work as well as I thought, but it didn't backfire either. I didn't have people who were upset about it. It just didn't really do much. Mm-hmm. But putting a call to action at the beginning of your book saying, if you want to hear more from me, go sign up here. And then, of course, right when they finish the book, before they get to that last page that Kindle puts there, asking them again, hey, go sign up if you want to have the most recent update, or if you want to find out when my books are coming out before everyone else. Insta freebie was a big one. That was a huge deal way back in the day, like a year and a half ago, whenever it was. It's still around. It still works for some people. It's not something that's been popular in my world lately. just because I think it's lost some of its luster, but it worked really well back then. And emailing PDFs. So this was something, people attaching like PDFs to an email and just seeing if seeing if the subscriber actually got the PDF file. I remember doing this a long time ago as a way to kind of give my freebie away. Don't do that. We'll talk about that later. But that was something that worked way back when.
Yeah.
Naturally.
That was then.
That was then.
Here's now.
You'll notice some similarities in these lists. Freebies still work really well. Everyone seems to do it, but there's a reason everyone does it, and it's because they work. It's almost par for the course now. It's sort of like when authors listen to other authors talk about the best way to market, everyone always starts with, well, you have to write a really good book. In order to build a mailing list, well, you have to give away a freebie. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's probably not enough to give away a sample, a few chapters here and there. Readers at this point, if they're real, whale readers and they've been around the block, they know that they can expect a full-length book. I don't think it's a race to the bottom. I think it's fine. Give away a full-length book. I do that with all 3 of my first books I wrote, and I still sell them and they still make money. So I don't think one's cutting into the other. Advertising still works. Again, we'll get more into that later, but Facebook, there's even a way to promote and get mailing list subscribers from BookBub and Amazon. Doing list swaps obviously still works. Call to action still works. And then instead of Insta Freebie, a lot of people have moved over to our friend Damon started a company called BookFunnel, and that seems to be really working well. You want to talk about that a little bit, Kevin?
Oh yeah, Damon Courtney. If you haven't heard of him or met him, he's a great guy. He started BookFunnel, I think, in 2016-ish. Could be way off on that, but
sounds right. Yeah,
it's a fantastic service for delivering books to your readers in whatever format they prefer. The thing that really makes that service stand out, though, isn't so much the free deliveries, but the support that he offers. So they handle all the support. So when you used to email PDFs to people, you had to explain to people how to use a PDF, and you had to get it on whatever device they wanted to read on. You had to go through and do all that support yourself. And if you happen to have 65,000 people on your mailing list, you're probably going to get 30,000 people who want to know all about how to do that. BookFunnel takes care of that for you. I don't want to go. I love BookFunnel. I love Damon. I can go off and talk about him all day, but that's enough of a plug.
Absolutely. No, BookFunnel's good. Most people use it. If you don't, go check it out. It's pretty cool. Hey, that's the official image for Let's Answer Some Questions.
Yes.
We don't really have a whole lot of new ones, except I guess Scooter asked if we can share some of these tips and tricks in a PDF.
Yeah, we will do that, right? Do we have any problem with it?
I don't have any problem with
this. You've got a PDF of this slide deck right here.
We'll just pop up the slide deck somewhere and we'll send everybody a link to it. So yeah, good question. Definitely.
Yeah. And I think that is also Kayla is she's always showing up in all the webinars. She's like the one person I can count on. Thank you, Kayla. I appreciate you being here. Kim Nash says she joined a little late.
Hey, Kim.
Hi, Kevin and Nick.
That's all right.
And we got the coveted good tip from Roland Denzel. So, here's a question. Do you think it matters what genre you write in?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess it's kind of a more of a general question. Does it matter what genre you write in for freebies or list swaps? Is that what you're asking, Kim?
Well, let's address both.
There's a little delay, so
no. Let's address both. What if you write in say thrillers? Do freebies work for thrillers? I mean, just run down the list. She says yes. I don't know what answering.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I just wanted to make sure I'm answering it the right way. I think genre matters all the time. Your readers are obviously going to be more interested in your genre if they've found you via some avenue they were reading in prior. Meaning, if you're doing a newsletter swap with someone in sci-fi and you write thrillers, there may not be as much of an overlap.
Right.
It's something you can overcome. And again, the price of newsletter swaps is usually $0, so it's not that big of a deal. You're not spending a whole lot of money to get people onto your list that way. So it's worth it. But yeah, the best kind of marketing you can ever do is honing in on your own genre and making sure that you are able to promote your work in the genre your reader wants to read. Same thing with freebies. You know, if you're giving your books away on your website, it's probably better if you write in multiple genres to have a freebie and a list for genre A, or, you know, let's say thrillers, and then a separate freebie and a separate list for genre B, which may be, you know, mystery, suspense, or sci-fi, or romance.
So she's clarifying that she wants to know, does it work better for one genre and not another?
Oh, I see. Right. What do you think, man?
I think the freebie stuff works for no matter what your genre. I think it gets a little tricky as to what you can offer for free depending on what genre you are in. For example, if you write erotica, yeah, you may want to find some way to verify that the person, you know, downloading your content is of an appropriate age, because that could lead to some backlash for you. But I still say that sort of thing could work. So she writes rom-coms, she says. Yeah, I think that would work perfectly fine. You know, I would aim to keep the content clean in that case. I don't know how, you know, I don't know what direction the rom-coms can go, but I think it would probably work just fine. I don't know of any limitations on genre when it comes to whether or not this sort of top of funnel freebie would work. Reader bank.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think all that's true. Kim, in your position, I would maybe focus more on collecting other authors in your genre than collecting readers. And what I mean by that is rom-com just in general is not a very large genre. You know, you compare to romance or thrillers or just general sci-fi, you're dealing with a much smaller niche, right? And so it's probably going to work better in the long run for you to focus on building and approaching other authors that are writing in the same style as you, and building up a network of people you know you can newsletter swap with all the time. It's just like what the 20 books people always say, that, you know, rising tide lifts all boats. If you can own the entire bay and all of them are your boat, and the analogy here, but you know what I'm trying to say. So if you can find other authors that are writing the same sort of books you are in the same style, and just focus on cultivating those relationships, I think the readers, whenever they come in, yeah, they're going to go to all the other authors as well, but they're going to go to you, and you're going to eventually have them on your mailing list as well.
Yep. All right. We're getting lots of kudos on the information, man. So I think you're hitting the right notes. Let's take a look at the rest.
Yeah, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, mainly because I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah, we should caveat and say right now, neither of us are lawyers and cannot offer you viable legal advice. Go.
We will try, but don't take it. I wouldn't take it if I were you. It's bad news. No, you know, we've both been, you know, in the deep end with studying this kind of stuff as we built Author Email. We have to know this stuff, and as authors, it is our, you know, it's kind of our job to know this stuff, at least cursory, you know, understand what it means, what they are.
Yeah.
But there's these three kind of main concepts, and it's can spam. Again, I'm not going to try to explain it here, but it's basic. I don't know why it's called can spam, but it's essentially the law that governs anyone trying to send email to people. This is how you are able to determine whether or not you're sending spam or you're sending legitimate email. There's all kinds of caveats, and like with most things in at least US law, it's full of gray area. You really do need a lawyer to make head or tails of it. But the bottom line is, with most of these laws, if you think it's spammy or could be perceived that way, it probably is. Rewrite it, figure out how to do it better, or kick that person off your mailing list if you aren't quite sure how they got there. GDPR is the same way. It's much newer. This is one of those real weird ones, full of a bunch of weird. Sorry, the word pornography showed up as I'm trying to explain GDPR.
I'm sorry. I was trying to get that
doing over here.
I was trying to get that up before you.
That's great. That's awesome. I love it. Yeah. So I won't read that. You guys can read that if you need more information about it. But again, go Google this stuff. It's not hard. It's just something you need to know as an author building a mailing list, what the laws are governing whom you can send emails to and who you can't. As I was saying, GDPR started, I think it was a UK or at least European Union thing.
European, yeah.
Yeah, it was an EU thing, which again automatically implies that for us US authors, it's a little different. It's going to be legislated differently. It's going to be legislated in a completely different country. if and when it even is legislated. I don't know of any court cases that have come up yet in the United States about it. But again, it's just one of those laws you want to be aware of. The vast majority of the time as an author, when you're emailing people, you're not going to run into any issues. It's for things like just making sure you know where you got your subscribers, aka don't purchase lists. And again, it all comes down to number 3, which is common sense. If it seems spammy, it probably is. Figure out a different way to do it.
Yep.
Anything you want to add to that?
No, I have great disdain for GDPR because I don't believe in European laws applying to American citizens. However, if you're going to be doing business in the European Union at all, it is pretty important for you to go ahead and pay attention to these things, try to at least accommodate them. It's very unlikely if you're in the U.S. If you're outside the U.S., you definitely got to pay attention to this. But if you're in the U.S. or in Canada, you may not be subject to the penalties per se, depending on how you're set up. But it's probably a good idea to go ahead and follow them as a best practice because it doesn't really hurt anything. And if there ever is a question, at least you gave it some effort. So That's my only addition to that.
Good stuff. No, that's great. It's good. Yep. Where'd my mouse go? Come on. There we go. All right. So this kind of gets into the meat here. I wanted to make sure everybody who really wanted the information had to sit through a bunch of legal stuff first, but we're going to get into the fun stuff now. So growth hacking. I don't really know what that means. Just everyone's using that term right now. So I figured I'd throw one in. Slide this in.
Everything's hacking now.
Everything's hacking, growth, and whatever, It's really, we're talking about list building in 2020. CTAs everywhere. I mentioned this a little bit before. I just don't think, well, I'm not going to say that because then someone will come back and call me out on it. But you probably don't have enough call to actions. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. I've tried call to actions in all of these places. I still do actively pursue new places to drop call to actions. I know Kevin does as well. If you missed it earlier, a call to action is literally just calling a reader to action, and that action in this particular case is getting them on your mailing list or asking them to be on your mailing list. Call to action is as simple as, hey, if you like books like this, click here and sign up to my mailing list, and you'll be the first to hear about new ones. That's an example of almost word for word what I've got in the back of all my books. I put that same sort of thing in the front of the book. Now, even though they haven't read the book yet, I say, if you like books like what you think you're about to read, go click here and sign up for the mailing list. As I mentioned before, I've tested call to actions in the middle of the book. Not in the middle of a sentence necessarily, but in between chapters. That one didn't really do much for me, but I have had some success with dropping call to actions in the middle of like an anthology type thing. Mm-hmm. Or we did, Kevin and I and a few other authors did a Christmas anthology, and it was very successful. And one of the things we dropped in at the end of each story was that author's call to action. Putting call to actions in other people's books. This is a similar thing. In-book ads is what I would call them. So if you ever, read, I'm sure we all did, those old mass market paperbacks, you'd flip to the very back and there'd be a couple ads for other books that publisher's trying to sell. This is something that's really authors aren't doing right now. But Kevin and I have talked about swapping call to actions, so you finish my book, at the very last page, you get a full page ad of Kevin's book saying, hey, if you liked this, you'll like Kevin's.
Yeah.
That's just an easy way. If you've got a close friend who's an author in your genre, try it out. It's like a newsletter swap that's ongoing forever. Of course, website. I just launched a book yesterday, I think. I don't know when it came out. No one's buying it, so I don't know. I'm just kidding. It's called Platform Mastery, and it's all about building a website and the difference between a website and a real author platform. Shameless sales pitch. Go buy that. It's not expensive, and I think it's good. It's got a lot of really good advice in there about how to do this the right way without coming across as something you're not, spammy or sales schmucky, whatever the word is.
Sales schmucky.
And then social profiles, of course, we all use Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Same thing. This idea of dropping our links into our social stuff can feel kind of dirty sometimes, but just have a plan to do it and do it well, meaning not all the time. And this can work pretty well. Thanks, Kevin, for throwing that up there. Advertising and billboards. These are well, let's talk about one first. Advertising, we will get a little bit more into. There's some specific ways of growing a list using ads that I found to work really well. And then a new way that I'm sort of playing with a little bit is using billboards to pitch audiobooks. There are services out there where you can, they have these digital billboards on the side of highways all over the country, at least in the US. I don't know about any other place, but you can actually go pay like a couple pennies, for a display ad to run for, I think, 8 seconds at a time. And I've purchased the website or the domain roadtripreads.com. And what I want to do is someone will go to that website because they see it on the side of the highway, and it will immediately start playing an audiobook on their phone. And it gets to, chapter 5 or so and cuts off. And then it asks them, would you like to go sign up to the mailing list to hear the rest of it? Now, all this, it's all brand new. I'm still playing around with it. But the point is, call to actions, you can just, there's all kinds of creative ways you can drop them in to your books and things offline, online. They're worth testing because it doesn't usually cost you much at all to test where a call to action can go. I know Kevin's probably got some good ideas too. So I'll show
all calls to action. Yeah. Practically everything I own has a call to action on it. I have do I have one? Here's one of my
show them your butt tattoo that says, check out Nick Thacker's books.
That's exactly right. So this little sticker that I had made up has my URL and everything on it. And that goes on practically everything. I've got business cards with, the images for my book covers that have
that's good
URLs. Nick's got
I did these are drink coasters. Oh, where's my camera? There's a drink coasters for my my Mason Dixon series. He's a bartender and an assassin. And so the idea is you go drop these onto wherever you're drinking or hanging out writing.
And it doesn't have to be anything crazy or crazy expensive, but making sure that people have a way to, when you connect with anyone at any time, there's always some opportunity to give them that call to action. And you don't have to be sales pitchy about the thing all the time. You can just be like, I've had conversations where I go to a coffee shop and I'm sitting and doing a little writing, and someone nearby notices, or we get in a conversation or whatever. As soon as they ask me what I do, I tell them I'm an author, and then they immediately ask, well, where can I find your books? And that's begging me for a CTA. So, we got a comment from Kayla for you, I think. It's the last day of Mason Dixon month.
Yeah, I decided to make a holiday because I didn't have any other launches or promotions going on in January. So I made up something called Mason Dixon month, where I could just give away a bunch of audiobooks and do some sales and promos and all that. I didn't pay Kayla to mention this, but it is a perfect spot to mention this idea of using your books to increase your reach in other ways than finding readers.
Yeah.
And this webinar isn't about that. That's more what the book that Kevin linked there.
We'll do a webinar about that later.
We can do a whole separate one about that.
Yeah, we'll do that.
That was just a way of expanding the reach using the material and content that I've already produced to find new readers in different, more creative ways. So thanks for mentioning that. And
on my website, I have calls to action. I got a little banner atop the website that people can dismiss if they want. There's a pop-up. I know we hate pop-ups, but they are super effective. So they get used anyway, whether we hate them or not. So we get a pop-up as soon as if you're a fresh user to my website at kevintomlinson.com, you will find a pop-up that invites you to join the mailing list to get a free book. And that's exactly, in fact, if you are watching right now or later, go to this URL. Go to that URL and just take a look at as soon as it loads there. Go to this URL and just take a look at what happens there. You can do the same thing at Nick's website. I don't want to bogart this. It's nickthacker.com, right?
Should be.
And go there as well. So you'll see how we utilize these on the websites.
Yeah, and we hope that these are done well. We think they are, and we've spent a lot of time and money and effort in getting them to work well. So if you need an example of what a platform looks like that has some of this stuff in there, and that's what this slide is about, this is a great way. I mean, again, this is all kind of foundational. A lot of you listening already have a website. but it's important to start thinking about that website as your home base, as your platform. You don't own Facebook, you don't own your Amazon page, you don't own Twitter, your Twitter account. The content on there, I think, even legally isn't yours in some ways. So focus on your website, focus on your platform, because you own it. It's part of your home base. All those other things, I call them outposts. They're someone else's, so you can have a presence at all those outposts, but point them back to your website. You can also put call to actions on those outposts. I recommend trying, links on Twitter or Facebook to, your upcoming release. And in order to get a discount, they have to sign up for your mailing list. These are all kinds of ways of just broadening your reach. But at the end of the day, your email list itself points back to your home base, your website, your platform. I kind of think of it as sometimes I will use my web platform to build my email list by running ads to my website, and then that gets people onto my mailing list that way. But the other way is also possible, where you get people on your email list who have never been to your website, and then you're able to send them there and get them acquainted with your shopping cart or system or whatever it is, like I did for Mason-Dixon month, trying to just sell hardcover versions or special edition signed copies of different things. I've already got all that content. It's just a matter of using it to broaden the reach, right? Broaden what you're able to do. So again, some of that's about a little bit different than building a mailing list, but it is worth mentioning that it's all kind of part of the same game. Right?
It doesn't hurt to go ahead and start thinking of these things, even if the only task on your plate right now is build and grow your mailing list, because all this marketing stuff folds in together. And marketing, my definition of marketing is that marketing is improving the odds that the person that will buy your book or product sees that book or product when they're ready to make the purchase. Absolutely. That's all marketing is. So that's what this is about, is giving them lots of onboarding opportunities. Every chance you can, you want to point them back to the thing that we all know they really truly want.
Amen. Absolutely.
All right.
So onboarding and autoresponders, 2 words that we've probably all heard, may not know what they mean, but seems like they are important. There's an image. I don't think we have any, so we will just roll after that.
Yeah, we'll come back.
You know what? Let's talk about autoresponders first, and I'll go back. It probably makes more sense to do it that way.
Okay.
But we've all heard this term, the autoresponder. It's really just an automated sequence of emails that your reader will get. When they sign up for your mailing list, they're likely going to get a welcome email right away. If you are given the freebie out, this is where you'll have a link to that freebie. And then maybe a day later, you'll say, hey, did you get the freebie? Here's another link to it. And then you can go as long as you want. Most of these email services will allow you to do unlimited amounts of autoresponder emails. So you can literally build an entire campaign of welcome emails that describe who you are, what you write about, some of your books, your backstory.
Yeah. And
you could just have it set it and forget it and run it forever.
I've been on some crazy long autoresponder sequences, like Absolutely. A year of emails, every day or every week. So you can get really elaborate with it. And there's some best practices and ideas that you should probably follow, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. So some of those things that work really well, it doesn't matter how long it runs. I mean, as long as you're not sending an email every single day or too often, whatever that is in your genre, then you can have an autoresponder that's 2 years long. The thing we like about autoresponders is that it allows you to play with multiple strategies at the same time. Things like your backlist. If you want to talk about a book that you wrote 10 years ago that isn't really selling well, put it in an autoresponder, give it its own email. And so whenever people come onto your list, they're going to get an advertisement masked as a story, right? A story about your book and how you wrote it and when you did. Non-book sales is what I was talking about before with like Mason-Dixon month. I just made it up, but it was a way to try to sell. And I say non-book sales, meaning non-ebook sales. So not what Amazon, or if you're wide, Kobo or Apple. But things like, giving a drink coaster away with a hardcover version of the book that's signed by me. I mean, people will pay a lot more money for that sort of thing if they're a fan of yours. And so you can have that kind of thing in your autoresponder series. And then I love this. If you haven't heard of Kevin Kelly, I think he was it Wired magazine? I think he started that. But he's got this concept called the 1,000 true fans. And that's the idea that no matter where you are in the world, if you have 1,000 true fans, meaning 1,000 people who will buy anything you release, you're going to be fine. You're going to have a career. It leaves a little, a little bit to the imagination, but he's got a whole article about it. I recommend going to look for that and see what you think. All of these methods are going to help to do one thing, and that's to build trust with you as an author and as the marketer, because your story is what they're eventually getting out of all these different things. If you talk about a book, talk about the story behind that book and how you wrote that book and why you wrote the book and all that stuff. That's all awesome stuff to put into an autoresponder series. The story behind the story is what I call that. And personal anecdotes, obviously within reason. We want to hear about you as an author. And so if I sign up for Kevin's mailing list, I don't just want to hear about his sales, his new releases. I do want to hear about those. That's why I signed up in the first place. But if I can kind of, peel back the layers of Kevin, the onion, they get to see what's on the inside, and see what he's all about and see what makes him tick.
If you get past blood and screaming.
Yes.
We have a comment from Roland Denzel that I like, actually. He says an autoresponder can just look like the normal emails that you would otherwise forget to send.
That's pretty much what mine are, Roland. Yeah. That's all mine are. I forgot to send that one. Let me make that into part of the autoresponder series.
I'd like to add that you, so I tell people that they should make their emails, and autoresponders fall into this as well, make them personable. And that doesn't mean personal. You don't necessarily have to share a bunch of personal details about your life. I would try to find details that you are comfortable sharing. Personable means that you seem approachable. And one way to do that is to ask open-ended questions, or in marketing speak, open loops in your emails. And that just means, like, ask people things like, in one of your autoresponder emails, you could ask something along the lines of, so what are some of your other favorite authors, or what are some books you've read recently? And people will respond to these, and it's important that you respond back because that builds the relationship. But so you'll get, because you wrote that autoresponder, 5 years ago, you'll periodically get these random emails from people that are telling you all about the books they just read. And then you just roll right with it. Oh yeah, I read that too. That's a great book. I love that author. That's I haven't picked that up yet, but I'm going to. Thanks for the recommendation. And people are so thrilled to get those emails because they think you're an author. You don't have time for them. So when you show them that you do have time for them, they become fans for life. And that's how you build that 1,000 true fans.
Absolutely. That's the first email in my autoresponder. Well, after the welcome email, they get one a few days later that says, "What are you currently reading?" And I respond to every single one of them that I get. Some of them probably end up never getting to my inbox, but any of those 60,000 people who I have on my mailing list that have ever sent me that email in response, I respond to. And sometimes it's simple, like, "Hey, I haven't read those. I'll add them to my list." Sometimes it's a little more in depth. "Hey, thanks for reading my book, and Kevin is a schmuck. Don't read his anymore." Things like that. I'll respond to each one of those.
I don't read my stuff anymore.
Let me bump back up to this one. Onboarding. So I put this slide first for some reason, but it's an onboarding sequence is really just a type of autoresponder sequence. This is the sequence people get first, essentially. So when someone comes onto your mailing list, you are onboarding them. If you come into a new company, a new job, you get onboarded. There's a training process. So you are training your fans when they first come onto your mailing list with a special AR, a special autoresponder called an onboarding sequence. Now, again, you can only have one autoresponder sequence, and in that case, your onboarding sequence is your only AR. But if you have different autoresponders for different people who click on different genres, no matter what, I think it's important to have an onboarding sequence that everybody gets. And this is the sequence where you will be personable, where you will try to get people to know who you are as an author, who you are as a person behind the scenes, peel back the Kevin onion layers and get to know who he is, that kind of thing. And then you're also sharing and hyping up what you have. You're basically selling. You're basically saying, "Hey, it seems like you wanted to hear about this kind of stuff because you signed up for my list because of X reason. So here it is. Here's what you can expect from me. I've got this type of content in this book, or this genre of book, and here's 10 of them that I've written. If you wanted to click to learn more about them, here's some links." This is also a great, if you're writing nonfiction, anyone listening for that reason, this is a great way to share some evergreen content on your blog, things that you've written in previous books that are the most helpful content that you've got. This is just a way to kind of whet people's appetite and say, "Hey, I've got a lot of this stuff coming. you're going to be really excited here. And if you're able to do it well enough, you can also throw a call to action in of asking people to share your newsletter. That's one of the ways of gaining more people, is at the bottom, say, hey, share this with a friend. If you know somebody who is interested in, weight loss for authors, Roland, click on this link and people, it'll pop open an email that they can just send to their friends. This is a great way of adding people, circles away from what's the term for it, people who aren't in your first direct circle.
Yeah.
Friends of friends, that kind of thing.
What is it? Expanded
something concentric. I don't know words. I'm not an author.
Yeah, friends of a friend.
Yeah. Cool. Anything there you want
to fix? No, I think we pretty well covered that. I mean, Kayla wanted to point out that that's how I got her on, got her attention.
She seems very excited about that too.
She's shouting at me.
Yeah,
I feel a little uncomfortable about it. No, that's exactly what I tell people all the time. And this is a good opportunity. Again, you want to avoid being overly salesy in these things, especially because this is not about selling. This is about establishing relationships.
Absolutely.
You can recommend and push things from time to time. I would actually recommend that you not just push your own stuff, but push the work of others. Because for one thing, it establishes a sort of community feeling, like you are in this with them. You're both readers. So, if you like certain movies, if you like certain books, if you like certain, tracks of music, share that stuff in the autoresponder sequence because it tells them you're not just trying to sell them something.
Right.
You're trying to establish a relationship with them and be personable with them. So
absolutely. Yeah, good stuff.
Okay.
So we talked about autoresponders. The onboarding sequence is one form of that, and everything else is typically in most email marketing services. It's called a campaign, and that's just for everything else. If you want to send a one-off email, you would create what's called a campaign. If you've got a new upcoming release that's not already part of your autoresponder sequence, and you want to send that to your list, you'd make a campaign. Mm-hmm. We all kind of know what they are. Some the ways that we use successfully, Evan was talking about, special requests. This could be, hey, I'm, one of the things I do, I'm a musician as well. And so, I might send something to my list that says, hey, you probably don't know this about me, but I made an album and, it's a Wham cover album. I don't know, whatever. I would never do that. But I could.
We totally should make a Wham cover album.
All right. I'm going to put that on the to-do list.
We don't have enough things to do.
I've got my next week planned out now. So, but this is just fun stuff that I might throw out to my audience. Say, hey, I know you're here for the books, but this is something else I've been working on. And the idea here is the reason they're on your list in the first place is there's something about them that's like you, or you guys are similar in some ways. Every reader you have is similar to you in some way. Usually one of the ways is they like the same books you like. That's why they're on your list in the first place. Yeah. But it also implies that there may be other things in your life that they can get behind. I've got a lot of readers who are into craft beer, and I love craft beer. And so a lot of times we'll share, our favorite beers in different locations. If I mention I'm going to a certain city, this is this example of special request. It's also an example of the next thing, the off topic or the brand building stuff. This is just marketing speak for being personable, like Kevin said. So you can use your campaigns for all kinds of different things. If it's something that is more of an evergreen type thing where you'd want everybody who comes into your world to hear, throw it into an autoresponder sequence. You can, and we didn't talk about that, but that's a great strategy, is to write campaigns and then send them to your list, but then also put them into your autoresponder sequence so that new subscribers.
I'm a huge fan of double duty for things you create. And that is definitely one thing, because if you write a great email and it introduces something about you and is, it's not about selling, but it's about brand building, that is a perfect time to repurpose that email and put it into your autoresponder sequence and make it a future email for other readers. And you get quadruple duty out of it that way.
That's right. Like I said, email marketing is pretty neat. Okay, we all agree. It's the same. I quoted the same person for this one. I just thought that was a really useful quote to have in this presentation.
So lame.
So we've kind of started talking about some of the meat.
I knew as soon as I said the word duty, somebody was going to pop up, and I knew it was going to be freaking Roland Denzel. or Denzel. I'm sorry, Roland. Roland, who is not the fictional character from my Kotler series,
Sure, he's not.
but he's pretty damn close. Action, man of action. So
Action Jackson.
Judy.
Is Action Jackson still on the? He's around somewhere.
See a thing? Do the kids know who Action Jackson is anymore?
All right. Well, so the reason you're all here, right? Hack your way. Again, that word, everyone's hacking these days. So we're going to hack our way to 2020. That's a typo. 20,000 subscribers in 2020. There's too many 20s. The best way to do any of this stuff that we talk about is to just find a way to automate it. It doesn't, and I'm not talking about the actual messaging, like, what you're trying to say to your audience. You don't want to have a robot write that content. But if you do something that works, find a way to make it easier on yourself down the road to do the same thing. If you build an ad that works, figure out if you can duplicate that ad and, do the same thing again. That's pretty self-explanatory. I think of course, we'll have some questions and answers later for more detail. Design everything you do with email in mind. And I don't necessarily mean everything you do, but if you're marketing, think about the way you're presenting that image or that book cover, and how you might be able to use it in an email, that you might be able to put it into a campaign. And how can you make this? Exactly what I did to come up with the Mason-Dixon month. I thought to myself, I don't have any new releases coming up in January. I don't have any major promotions coming up in January. I sat on my butt and did nothing over Christmas. And so I don't have anything coming down the pipe. So let me just make up a holiday that I can email my list about. And I called it Mason-Dixon month, and it's worked pretty well. It was fun. Didn't cost me anything is the best part. Send everything multiple times. This is one of those things that people tend to not do often because they think they're spamming. But the truth is, even if you've got the best email platform on the planet that has high deliverability, your open rates are still going to be 20, 30% at best, most likely, which means 80% of your people aren't even opening your email the first time.
Yeah.
I've tested this. I know Kevin's tested this. I've got actual data that shows, I can send the same exact email 4 or 5 times only to the people who haven't opened it. Again, I'm not going to send everybody the same thing over and over again. If they've opened it and stuff, they don't get it again. But there's ways to automate that in your email marketing service, most likely. There's not way. But send it to people who opened it before. And just really, you're kind of squeezing the rag of every drop of juice from it, right? Use some surveys you can onboard. This is something I haven't played with a whole lot, but I do know there's a lot of authors that have a lot of, they love doing surveys, and I love the idea of them. I've just never really figured out a way to glean good data from them. But you can ask questions. This is essentially what that first email in my series is just, what are you currently reading? That's a survey. Essentially, at the end of the day, I get to see at a glance, hey, this same name keeps popping up. A lot of people found my mailing list through Kevin. A lot of people found my mailing list through Ernie Dempsey, who isn't watching live right now, and I'm going to have a word with him later. But that's it's just one of those one of the things you can do. Asking open-ended questions, like Kevin said, it's a great way of open loops in the marketing world. Open loops. And then offer special stuff for people that actually share your. They're going over and above. They've not only subscribed to your list, but they're sharing your mailing list. They're not saying, hey, you should check out Nick Thacker's books. They're saying you should go sign up for Nick Thacker's mailing list. Again, you can go back to the top. You can automate that by having a link at the bottom that automatically opens, an email. And this isn't magic. It's all just regular HTML stuff. And then when they share it, you can actually see that they came to your list via, an invite. And that's powerful stuff. Reward your people who do that. And then use it as a marketing tool. You say, hey, if you invite somebody, I'll give you, a free download of one of my books or a free audiobook code. So these are just ways that you can use your current subscribers to build relationships with them, but also to grow your list that way. Yep. The next stuff we're going to talk about is how to get into people who aren't already on your list or already in your circles. And that's, I think, the real power here to these 20,000 subscribers that are out there. I mentioned this a couple times that we're going to talk about advertising. Probably no ways around it. If you're an author today, you probably are going to want to advertise if you want to sell books and if you want to grow your mailing list. It's not the only way to do it. And there's always going to be an exception that proves the rule. But my experience, and I'm pretty sure Kevin's experience, is that you can do better if you advertise. You can do better than what you're doing right now. There's a few there's really the only three that we need to talk about are the three big ones that we've all probably heard of. And that's Facebook advertising, BookBub ads, and Amazon ads. Just real, and again, we'll have time for questions after, but real quickly, one of the best ways, I think I probably got half of my 60,000 or so subscribers directly from Facebook, by advertising on Facebook, sending them directly to my Nick Thacker free books page. So there's no in betweens. I put the Facebook pixel on that page, and they click the link and it goes directly to my sign up page. Those ads still work very well. They're just a little more expensive now.
Yeah.
Not prohibitively so, but to the tune of about 25 cents a click. Last I checked, 25 cents or 30 cents a subscription, which isn't cheap. 4 people, that's $1.
Yeah.
So you want to get to 60,000, you're going to be spending a lot of money if you just do that. But it still works. It's still something people love to see on Facebook. You're not asking for a sale. You're not asking them to go sign up for this, super intense, online course or anything like Facebook is all about these days. You're just asking them, hey, give me your email address. I'll give you some free books. Mm-hmm. So that sort of thing works really well. If you can find other platforms besides Facebook to do that, like Instagram or Twitter, that works as well. It works also. I don't know that it works as well. That's one of the best ways to grow a list. Using image only content is just kind of what I've found to be most effective on Facebook for any type of ad, and then setting those as traffic based. Those are just 2 real quick tips. And this isn't a Facebook ads course. Mark Dawson's kind of got that market nailed down, but using images only, not a book cover, not, any kind of advertising copy. I think Facebook really likes and prefers visual content more than, text.
They really like video. If you can do some video,
you can manage to get some video stuff. Yeah. Same thing.
There is an app that I use occasionally called Werble, Werble, on the iPhone, that will let you take still images and add animated elements to it. So you can do some pretty cool stuff. So I'll take like the background image of my book and just kind of throw some smoke or whatever into it, and maybe put the cover on there depending on what I'm trying to do. And that usually works pretty well for me. So if you don't have the means to make video otherwise, there's lots of little apps out there that'll help you do that.
Definitely. Yeah. I've seen a bunch of those. I haven't played with very many of them. BookBub ads. If you can get them, featured deals are the way to go. I still think they work really well. Shameless sales pitch number 2. I've got another book coming out on BookBub featured deals. What we're talking about is something that's a little more in our control, and that's BookBub advertising, using their ad platform. The best way that I've found to do any kind of list building is to use ads for special deals, like using your Kindle free promo days or your countdown deals. Because again, BookBub is all about deals, right? The readers there want to see, hey, I didn't know the link, you didn't know it was even live. There it is, BookBub Mastery. So that's the book 2 in the guide in the series.
It's covering your thing, so I'll take it down.
No, that's fine. I've actually memorized the slides. So
oh well,
just kidding. Using specials on BookBub and driving people to your own website, or you can go directly to Amazon again, but you need to have that call to action ready to go at the beginning of those books, as we talked about earlier. But there is a way you can even send them directly to your website, and then using a pixel on that website to collect them. Then you can turn around and use that person in Facebook targeting. And it just, the cycle continues, right? The more money you invest into both of these things, the more effective they become. The last one is a lot of fun, and I'm going to recommend and not recommend it because it is against Amazon's terms of service. But I have had a lot of success in the past dropping a link directly to my freebie page in my Amazon book description, or in the book description on Amazon. And it's usually, I think, actually, I discovered I've got a book.
This is where we have to insert attempt at your own risk.
Yes.
Just in case they decide to crack down on this, just know
absolutely.
It is actually against their terms of service to do it. So we are not advocating that you do anything to violate the terms of service of Amazon or any other provider. That said,
but they violate their own terms of service with me every 90 days.
That's true. I agree.
But they have better lawyers than I do. So the thing is, yeah, I have come across this accidentally. I didn't know it was against terms of service when I first did it, but I dropped in, hey, do you want 3 free books? Go to this link. And again, I didn't use any HTML in there. It's written out, nickthacker.com/free-books. But it was the first thing in bold in my book description. And then I had a BookBub for that book. And so like thousands of people hit this Amazon site, and I got like 2,500 subscribers in a day. It worked really well. I didn't know what was happening. And then I saw that I had put that on there, forgotten to take it off before the BookBub. So I did it again because I like to live life on the edge like that. And then I did it again. And every time I was able to get 2,000 to 3,000 subscribers in about a day. So you can play with that at your own risk. Just know that Amazon does not want you to have links in your book description. One time I did have a link in there, and they just sent me an email and said you need to take it out.
Yeah. So
but Amazon has been known to overreact sometimes. So.
They frequently. Just so you're aware, we're just past 3:00 Central. So we're at the top of the hour, and you may feel free to continue on. I just want to let everybody know it's not mandatory for you to stay or anything if you're holding out, but we'll wrap up soon.
Yes, soon.
How soon?
I don't know. I can't see how many slides I have left. Hey, well, there's an image.
There's an
How many
image.
questions? Let's burn through it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is perfect timing. So
yeah, this is the bonus part.
Bonus round. Go for it.
So we are introducing author email. We've actually this has actually been around for quite a few years now. It's been around for at least 4 years that I can think of. The idea here is that we're authors. We use email extensively as part of our marketing platform. We believe in it. We advocate it to people, and we needed something that worked a little better or worked for a little less overhead than the competition. We got tired of paying for, thousands of dollars for the site, basically being punished for our list. So, and I'm sorry for those sticking around. Thank you for sticking around. I saw Kayla popped up. If you need to go, we understand. This will be available online later, so you can just speed ahead and watch this part if you missed it. But so author email is something we started. We did, yeah, we did. We did end the presentation right on time, technically. Author email is something Nick and I started for ourselves, and like any good entrepreneurs, as soon as we realized that we needed it, we realized that other authors probably need it too. So we, and I keep saying we, but it was mostly Nick who built this from the pixels up using various tools that were available to us. And we recently upgraded some of those tools. Now there's some nifty templates and a WYSIWYG editor and all kinds of cool stuff to play around with. I break it on a regular basis so that you don't have to. But we are opening this whole thing up. We've got kind of an open beta. You can actually try it out for free and import your list and see how it works for 30 days, right?
30 days free trial.
30-day free trial. And what we're doing so that we can kind of bring people in, ease people into it without overloading the system and maybe crashing and causing some issues is we're asking people to pop in on a short wait list where you'll be onboarded a bit at a time. So it's now I'm going to let Nick talk about some of the reasons what happened.
No, I'm laughing. I think we're nailing the call to action thing. I think the call to action.
This is how we were talking about call to action earlier. This is what we mean. There are literally 3 calls to action to get on this thing right here.
Anyone watching now, you have 3 options we want you to take. You can choose either one of them. The first is to get on the wait list. The second is to get on the wait list. Kevin, I'll let you go ahead and talk about the third option there.
Yeah. So my favorite one is get on the wait list. No, I'll put this, I'll actually, to help out, I'll copy and paste this into the actual comments.
Ooh.
How's that?
Technology, man.
Okay, wait, it did something funky when it did that. Here, if you are in the comments, you can just click on it. So here's the deal. If you hop on, you'll get to try it out for 30 days free once we've onboarded you. There may be a slight delay in onboarding you, so just be patient. But the goal here is to ease everyone into the service so that it doesn't crash on us or anything unexpected. If a problem happens, we want it to happen with fewer people than thousands of people. This is a service that we intend to charge for. We have tiered pricing, which you can find on the website. So I don't want to say pricing out loud, Nick, just in case it changes in the future and someone tries to hold us to this. But it shouldn't change. We actually kind of like the price points. We made it really affordable. And where this compares to other services like MailChimp and MailerLite, you get essentially all the same tools, all the same resources, all the same functionality as you get with those services, but you won't pay nearly as much. I mean, I think in comparison, I mean, I'd say it's like it's less than half. It's
less than half.
Yeah, it's definitely less than half of MailChimp, for example. So, and there is a free tier, I believe. No, did we go with that? Or we just went with the trial.
Just the trial.
Okay.
Yeah, because it still costs us money to send all these emails, and so
Right.
if we've got 1,000 authors, not paying anything, we don't have the margin to keep the service up. So
Right,
we had to come up with some tiers, but the kind of the middle ground was to offer a 30-day free trial, no matter how big your list is.
Right.
Come in, try it out, try us with just a segment of your list. If if you're thinking you may not want to switch, totally fine, we get it. But I think you will once you play around with everything and you get to know how the system looks and how it works, and ask us questions. I mean, again, Kevin and I have been using this system for 5 years.
Yeah.
We've sent millions of emails through it, and it works great. So
part of that, by the way, was sort of warming the whole thing up for you,
exactly.
because we've used it and sent literally millions of emails through this thing, between the two of us alone, not to mention the other authors who are already using it. Millions of emails have gone out, which means that we are a trusted sender with all the various services now, which means you won't get automatically marked as spam or that sort of thing as frequently. I mean, there are always filters that can catch people, they're overly suspicious or whatever. But we have taken quite the pains to make sure that this is something that's going to work for this specific audience. Like we're building this with authors in mind, and we are literally the only service that I've encountered to date that is built around the author's needs. So that's what we have committed to, and we want to keep the overhead on it low, so that, because let's face it, most authors don't make any money right away. You want to build a mailing list because you need it, because guys like us keep telling you need it. But then you go and you start looking around and you find out it's going to cost a fortune to build and grow that list. It's like being punished for success. I've never quite understood that model. I want you to be rewarded for your success. So, Nick, why don't you give us a rundown of some of the more, you can give some of the technical side, but the feature side probably more than anything.
Sure. Yeah. No, there's a lot, so I'm not going to go through everything. But the things that we built in here that we wanted mostly are unlimited autoresponders. I don't know. I don't keep up daily with all the other providers, but a lot of them will limit your ability to use autoresponders on the platform if you're on a free tier, for example.
Yeah.
We don't do that. That's done. We don't have a free tier, but no matter what tier you're on, if you're paying, right now $10.99 a month is our most inexpensive tier. We're not going to say, oh, you also can't do these special things that probably are the only reason you sign up for an email service provider.
Right. You get the full service, even at the
full service.
Tier.
Yeah. So it's too hard to manage, right? Let's just build one service. Everybody gets it. It's just the only difference is how many subscribers you have, which makes sense because it's costing more money to send more emails than fewer. So all the features on all the different tiers are all there. One of the features I really like that I talk about a lot is the ability to automatically send to people who haven't opened a previous campaign. This is something that I was lacking. I've been on Aweber, Constant Contact, iContact, MailChimp, Mandrill for a little while. They're all good in different ways. And most of them, like Aweber, for example, I had to go and if I wanted to send, an email to my list and then 3 days later send that same email to just the people who hadn't opened the previous email, I actually had to make a new list. I would download the stats from the previous campaign and then re-upload only the people who hadn't opened the old campaign.
Yeah.
And I would call it D&O that did not open. I'd call it list A D&O. And then I would send the new email copy just to the D&O people. But, and here was the big kicker, was anyone who happened to open it 3 days later, right before I sent the new email, wasn't on that D&O list. So they would get both emails. It was just this really clunky way of doing it. So author email doesn't do that. We have a button. You just click it and it says send to only the people who haven't opened, and then you get to choose from a drop down of all the previous campaigns or autoresponders you've sent. And the best part about that is it's automated, meaning if you schedule that email to go out a week from now, that's when it's going to run against the database and check for people who haven't opened the previous email. So you can set it up. And if you're going to want to send it to everybody on your list 4 times, or send it to everybody and make sure that everyone's got it, and you're going to do that 4 times to the people who haven't opened it, you can schedule all 4 emails right now. And then they'll go out when they're supposed to, and only then pick up the people who haven't opened the previous ones. So it's just a really, really nice, slick way of handling something like that. There's a lot of features on there. We are the only service that I've found that has a true email editor, WYSIWYG editor, which means what you see is what you get. And we've all seen HTML WYSIWYG editors, where you click this and it makes it bold. And all of those are for HTML, which is built for the web. And none of them are built for email. And everybody knows that email is different depending on when thanks, Jim. I really appreciate that. You should throw that one up there just so I
will.
But everyone knows every email. Just what, I'm just gonna stop talking so Kevin can answer this question, because it seems like that's really what people want to know.
Are we giving away a free Kindle Oasis? Is that what we're?
I was told that Jim was going to supply a free Kindle Oasis.
Jim Heskett. So what you need to do is go to jimheskett.com and sign up on his mailing list. But
does he have a website? Is it Jim?
Did Heskett? I give the? I may not have given. I totally just guessed at it, dude.
Does Jim write books?
Let's see. Is that the right URL, Jim? Did I give the wrong one?
Well,
okay.
Can you give us one? I don't know.
You pop it in, pop it in there, and he'll take care of you on the.
Take care of you.
He's not going to put it now.
Free Kindle Oases for everyone. Yeah. So back to what we were talking about before. Author Email's got an email builder, so it's going to look the same no matter what email client opens it. If you're on Hotmail or Outlook or Office or 365 or whatever it is, going to the same, and that's just not the way other email providers operate. They've just got a general HTML editor. You drag a picture in. Well, that picture may or may not show up in the right spot in the email. It may all just be broken and messed up. Those are just a couple of the main features that I love about the platform. I guess the best one is it works. It sends my email when I want it to. And as long as you don't upload an image with an apostrophe in it, Kevin Tomlinson.
Yes, don't put an apostrophe in your file names.
Blow up the whole server for everybody else.
And Nick gets the frantic emails at like 5 a.m.
Are they emails or are they text messages?
Text messages. They are text messages. I misspoke. They're frantic text messages. Because unlike you guys, I get direct access to the tech support. Okay, so that's our pitch. We don't want to be overly salesy about it, the way we advise you to be.
No.
Go sign up though. You this is definitely something you're going to want to be a part of. It is new. We are still kind of, figuring a couple of things out here and there, but it is a working service, works great. Nick and I have both been using it for years. Between the two of us, like I said, we've sent millions of emails successfully, and it works brilliantly. You can pre-build your templates if you want, and we're going to be offering some templates you can choose from as well. Mm-hmm. But the main thing here is, I can't emphasize this enough. We're authors. We're building this for authors. We're going to continue to improve this over time as we discover new ways to tinker with it or whatever. But the goal here is to provide authors with the best email marketing service that they can have and at their disposal. So that's what we've built. We believe it, and we think it's going to just knock it all out of the park. So
yeah, we hope so.
That's it. So I'll pop the URL up there one more time just in case you missed it. But go get on the wait, and it is a waiting list only because we really kind of need we need that gap. But you'll get on there pretty quickly and go try it out. So, Nick, I think that's going to wrap us up, man. Did you want to throw in any last things?
No, I'm good. We don't have a whole lot of people asking questions now, but if there is any last minute question or two anyone has besides Jim, you're welcome to drop that into the chat, and we can do our best to answer. And if not, we recorded this. I hope you press the record button at some point.
Everything's recorded. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be on. It'll
The
be
NSA's
popping
got
around.
this file somewhere.
The NSA has a huge. They got a hard drive full of me.
Yeah.
This will be on Facebook. It's automatically on Facebook, and we'll probably share it here and there. And we didn't get to live stream to YouTube the way I wanted this time around, but next time we did start a new YouTube channel. I didn't create little banners for this, Nick, the way I said I was going to. Well. We'll have a special URL for that at some point. And you can go subscribe to us if you happen to be a YouTube lover the way I am. And please go to our page on Facebook, which is, what is it? Oh, it's facebook.com/author email, which I will happily drop into the chat here real quick. Go like and follow us there as well, so that we can tell you about. We're going to be doing more of these in the future, and we hope that this content. The goal is always to provide you with content that's actually usable, something that's going to help you build, grow, and improve your author career. And the author email stuff that we're doing is just sort of in support of that. So forgive us if we pitch that every now and then, but go check that out and tell your friends about it. Tell everybody you know in the author community about it, so that they can also benefit from this. And other than that, Nick,
thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of it. And do everything Kevin said.
There you go. See you later, everybody.